said, social equity is not new to cannabis. It is a framework that's actually been around for a few decades. And at its basic core, people should walk away with this. Social equity provides a framework to answer this, fundamental question. How can people who have been most harmed by the war on drugs benefit from marijuana's legalization? Now, some folks will say that primarily that is in ownership into the industry. And I'll tell you, while that's important, we would be doing ourselves a disjustice or an injustice if we didn't look beyond the license structure to talk about how to build a equitable framework to address the collateral consequences. And I learned this lesson very early on in my public talk about cannabis. I gathered with a group of Black farmers in the South several years ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, look, cannabis is coming. Legalization is coming. We need you guys to stop growing potatoes and peanuts and all this other stuff. And you need to start growing weed. And these Black farmers, men and women, they were very respectful, but they were looking at me side-eyed, like, what? Sis, what are you saying? You want us to be drug dealers? We not doing that. With marijuana and all those other drugs have been detrimental to our communities, to our families, to our own livelihood. We've lost houses. We've lost family members. We not finna sell no weed, right? We're not gonna grow weed. And so I switched my approach. I understood that there had been such a devastating disconnect between this plant and African Americans specifically because of its criminalization that we had to go back to square one and reimagine a conversation about what cannabis is. And so I'm hopeful in this conversation we can talk about addressing beyond the license what social equity means for our communities. But I know you said be simple, but simply the question for social equity is what and how can people who have been most harmed by its criminalization benefit from its legalization? And that's all that social equity is. And it doesn't have to just be in licenses. So, yeah.